The storm over Wyndemere had been building for days, but no one in Port Charles could have imagined the horror that would unfold before sunrise. The castle, already soaked in decades of secrets, betrayals, and bloodshed, was about to witness another unforgivable crime, one that would change General Hospital forever. And at the center of it all, Jocelyn Jacks. No one would believe she was capable of murder. Not Carly, not Michael, not even Sonny. Joss had always been fiery and impulsive, but beneath that stubborn exterior was a young woman who fought for justice. She hated manipulation, she hated violence. But fear changes people, and Wyndemere had a way of dragging darkness out of everyone who entered its halls. The nightmare began when Joss arrived on Spoon Island looking for answers about Dex's mysterious disappearance. For weeks she had sensed something was wrong. Phone calls stopped suddenly. Messages went unanswered. Rumors spread through Port Charles that Dex may have skipped town after uncovering dangerous information tied to a criminal operation. Joss didn't buy it. Dex would never disappear without warning her. Her instincts led her straight to Wyndemere, where whispers of strange activity had surfaced ever since Cassius arrived in town. Charming on the surface, Cassius quickly earned a reputation as someone people feared behind closed doors. Even Sonny had warned Carly to keep Joss away from him, but warnings only fueled Joss's determination. Late that evening, she slipped onto the property unnoticed, rain pouring down as thunder cracked above the ancient castle. The air felt wrong the moment she stepped inside. Every hallway echoed with silence. Every shadow seemed alive. Then she heard it. A scream. Joss followed the sound downstairs into one of Wyndemere's abandoned tunnels, where she stumbled upon a horrifying scene. Cassius stood over a badly beaten man chained to a chair. Dex. Bruised, bloodied, barely conscious. Joss froze in terror. Cassius slowly turned toward her with a smile that made her blood run cold. "Well," he said calmly, "this complicates things." The next moments would haunt Joss forever. Cassius explained everything with chilling confidence. Dex had uncovered evidence connecting him to a massive weapons pipeline operating through the Port Charles docks. Worse still, several powerful people were involved. If Dex escaped, countless lives would be ruined. Cassius had no intention of letting that happen, and now that Joss had seen everything, she wasn't leaving either. Joss tried to free Dex, but Cassius intercepted her immediately. He grabbed her arm violently and shoved her against the wall. The fear in her eyes only amused him. "You should have stayed out of this," he whispered. What followed became pure chaos. Dex suddenly lunged from the chair, despite his injuries, tackling Cassius long enough for Joss to grab a metal lantern from a nearby table. She screamed for Cassius to stay back, but he advanced toward her anyway, enraged and out of control. Then came the fatal moment. Cassius charged. Joss swung. The lantern struck the side of his head with a sickening crack. Silence. Cassius collapsed instantly onto the stone floor. At first, Joss thought he was unconscious. Then she saw the blood, a dark pool spreading beneath him. Dex checked for a pulse, and his expression said everything. Cassius was dead. Joss dropped the lantern in horror, trembling uncontrollably. She kept repeating the same words over and over. "I didn't mean to. I didn't mean to." But intent wouldn't matter once the police arrived. A man was dead, and Joss had killed him. Dex urged her to leave immediately before anyone discovered them. The tunnels beneath Wyndemere were unstable and difficult to navigate, but they offered the only escape route. Sirens could already be heard faintly in the distance. Someone had called the police. Panic consumed Joss completely. She wanted to confess. She wanted to tell the truth. But Dex reminded her of the dangerous people connected to Cassius. If they learned she was responsible, she would become their next target. So they ran, through rain-soaked tunnels beneath Wyndemere, through darkness, through fear. By the time authorities arrived at the castle, Cassius's body had already been discovered, but Joss and Dex were gone. Port Charles exploded with speculation within hours. Anna Devane immediately suspected foul play. Finola Hughes's legendary detective instincts kicked in fast after she examined the scene. The wound on Cassius's head suggested a struggle, not an execution, but something else disturbed her. There were signs that a second victim had been held prisoner nearby. Meanwhile, Carly became frantic after realizing Joss hadn't come home. Laura Wright portrayed Carly's growing dread with heartbreaking intensity as she began piecing together clues pointing toward Wyndemere. Sonny's reaction proved even more explosive. The moment he learned Cassius was dead, Sonny understood the danger immediately. Maurice Bernard's mob boss knew powerful enemies would begin hunting whoever pulled the trigger, or in this case, swung the weapon. And deep down, Sonny feared it was Joss. Back at a remote cabin outside Port Charles, Dex tried desperately to calm her. Joss sat wrapped in a blanket, staring blankly at her blood-stained hands. She couldn't erase the image of Cassius falling, couldn't stop hearing the sound of the lantern connecting with his skull. Dex insisted it was self-defense. Legally, he might even be right. Cassius kidnapped him, threatened Joss, attacked her first. But trauma doesn't care about legal definitions. Joss believed she had crossed a line she could never uncross. Things grew even worse when Dex revealed another terrifying truth. Before dying, Cassius mentioned a hidden ledger containing names of every person connected to the criminal operation. If that ledger disappeared, everyone involved would assume Joss and Dex took it, which meant they were now targets. Suddenly, fleeing Wyndemere wasn't enough. They had to disappear entirely. As news coverage intensified, social media in Port Charles erupted. Some called Cassius's killer a hero. Others demanded justice. Nobody knew the truth, yet. But secrets never stay buried long in Port Charles, especially not at Wyndemere. Trina soon became suspicious after learning Joss vanished the same night Cassius died. Tabyana Ali delivered emotional scenes as Trina struggled between loyalty to her best friend and fear that something terrible had happened. When she confronted Carly, the panic in Carly's eyes confirmed everything. Joss was involved. Elsewhere, Anna discovered security footage placing Joss near Spoon Island hours before the murder. Though grainy, the footage showed enough to raise serious questions. Now Anna faced an impossible dilemma. If Joss acted in self-defense, she deserved protection. But if Anna concealed evidence, she could destroy her entire career. The pressure intensified after the FBI entered the investigation. Rumors surfaced that Cassius had connections far beyond Port Charles, including international smuggling networks. Federal agents demanded immediate access to all evidence. Sonny knew what that meant. If Joss surrendered to authorities, she might never walk free again. That realization pushed Sonny toward drastic action. In classic Sonny Corinthos fashion, he activated old connections and arranged false passports for Joss and Dex. He intended to get them out of the country before the FBI closed in. Carly was horrified. Running would only make Joss look guilty. But Sonny argued they had no choice. The law won't protect her, he warned. Not from the people Cassius worked for. As the family argued, Joss overheard everything. And for the first time since the killing, something inside her hardened. Fear transformed into survival instinct. She agreed to leave Port Charles. That decision shattered Carly. One emotional scene reportedly shows Carly begging Joss not to run, insisting they could fight this legally. But Joss no longer believed in happy endings. "I killed someone, Mom," she whispered through tears. "There's no fixing that." Meanwhile, another shocking twist emerged. Cassius had been recording conversations inside Wyndemere for months, and someone obtained the recordings. A mysterious figure later listened to audio capturing the exact moment of the struggle, including Cassius threatening Joss before she struck him. That recording could exonerate her completely, or destroy her, because the tape also revealed something else. Dex had considered letting Cassius die long before Joss swung the lantern. Suddenly the case became morally complicated. Did Dex manipulate events? Did he push Joss into a deadly confrontation? Or was he simply trying to survive? Viewers will reportedly see growing tension between Joss and Dex as guilt begins poisoning their relationship. Every time she looks at him, she remembers that night. Every silence feels heavy with blame. Their romance starts unraveling under the weight of trauma. And then comes the biggest shock of all. Cassius may not have been working alone at Wyndemere. In the closing moments of the upcoming storyline, Anna uncovers evidence that another person was present inside the tunnels shortly before the murder. Footprints, cigarette ash, a missing surveillance file. Someone else witnessed everything. Someone who now holds enormous power over Joss. The identity of this mystery witness remains unknown, but early spoilers suggest it could connect to one of Port Charles's most established families. If true, the fallout could ignite a massive war across the city. Back at the cabin, Joss's mental state continues deteriorating. She suffers nightmares, panic attacks, and terrifying flashbacks. One particularly emotional episode reportedly shows her scrubbing her hands repeatedly in the sink while crying uncontrollably, convinced she can still see blood on her skin. The psychological damage becomes impossible to ignore. Even Dex begins questioning whether fleeing was the right choice. But before they can decide their next move, armed men arrive at the cabin. Cassius's associates found them. What follows is said to be one of the most intense action sequences in recent General Hospital history. Gunfire erupts, windows shatter. Dex fights desperately to protect Joss as they escape through the woods in the middle of the night. By dawn, both vanish completely. No one in Port Charles knows where they went. Not Carly, not Sunny, not Anna, nobody. Their disappearance sparks emotional devastation across the city. Trina feels abandoned. Carly spirals into despair. Sunny grows increasingly violent while hunting Cassius's remaining allies. And Anna quietly continues investigating, convinced there's still more to the story. Because one detail keeps bothering her. If Joss struck Cassius only once, why were there signs of additional injuries on the body? That final revelation changes everything. The medical examiner privately informs Anna that Cassius may not have died immediately from Joss's attack. Evidence suggests someone else could have finished the job afterward, meaning Joss might not actually be the killer. But if she isn't, then who is? Theories immediately exploded among fans. Some suspect Dex returned to ensure Cassius couldn't survive and expose them. Others believe a hidden enemy inside Wyndemere seized the opportunity to silence Cassius permanently. A few even think Cassius faked his death entirely. After all, this is Port Charles. No body ever stays buried forever. Still, regardless of the truth, Joss believes she committed the unforgivable. That guilt will shape every decision she makes moving forward. Sources tease that her transformation after Wyndemere could become permanent, pushing her into darker territory than fans have ever seen before. Gone is the carefree college student. In her place emerges someone haunted, hardened, and dangerous. Someone capable of survival at any cost. And if enemies continue hunting her, Joss may discover killing once makes the second time easier. The fallout from the Wyndemere tragedy is expected to ripple through nearly every major storyline this year. Carly and Sunny's fragile relationship could collapse under pressure. Anna's moral compass will be tested like never before. Dex may face his own reckoning if hidden truths emerge. But perhaps the most heartbreaking consequence belongs to Joss herself, because even if the law clears her, even if evidence proves self-defense, even if someone else truly killed Cassius, she can never erase what happened inside those tunnels. She remembers the fear, the rage, the sound. And deep inside, one terrifying question continues haunting her. What if part of her wanted Cassius dead? That possibility may become the darkest secret of all. As Port Charles braces for the next chapter, one thing is certain. Wyndemere has claimed another soul. Whether through guilt, violence, or buried secrets, the castle changes everyone who enters it. And Jocelyn Jax may never find her way back from the darkness she unleashed that stormy night. Thank you for watching. Write what you think about it. Subscribe to the channel.